Hello, welcome to Love Relationships, Real Talk. I'm so excited to be starting this video blog. It's about relationships, one of my favorite subjects. I'm not an expert, but I'm your girlfriend, someone who has been on the phone with you for hours at a time, listening to you about your relationships. Oh, I've had many of those conversations. And I feel that over the years, I've come away with some very valuable lessons. And those are the lessons that I would like to share with you on this video blog. The purpose for me even doing the video blog is to primarily allow people a space to come and have conversations about their relationships, but real talk relationships. Listening, hearing things that you may not necessarily want to hear, but things that would work to help improve you in your relationship. And most of all, to provide the thing that relationships are supposed to provide, which is healing and growth for you as an individual and as a human being, and for your partner as well. That's why we're together. That's what was intended when relationships were created, for people to be able to become better people. Well, everybody knows that we all have a past and we all have had scars in our past. Those scars need to be healed. I believe that there is a higher power that orchestrates the coming together of individuals for the specific and express purpose of supporting us through our healing from our past wounds. As children, as adults, past relationships, a healing needs to take place in order for us to grow and to become the human beings that we were meant to become. And as a result, the relationships are there to work as a tool to help us get there. Because don't your partners reflect to you those things that you've had experienced in the past? If you have a trust issue, doesn't your partner bring up those trust issues for you? If you have abandonment issues, doesn't your partner bring up those abandonment issues for you? The one thing that I always express to friends is that if you're in a relationship, you can always make that relationship work in the positive for you. Because no matter what happens, whether the relationship survives or not, there is a particular purpose that that person was in your life for, a specific opportunity. And this is what I believe we can learn from relationships. There are no wasted years. There is no wasted time or bad decisions or wrong turns. There's just opportunity for us to learn lessons from what it was that that person was bringing to us. I love Iyanla Vanzant's saying that relationships are for a season, a reason, or a lifetime. I don't believe anymore in a soulmate. I believe that people are connected by the soul, but I don't think there's one person for every one person. I believe that you can make anyone your soulmate because they can be there if you choose to help heal the wounds of your soul. So I've noticed an interesting dynamic after years of working with relationships, with friends, in my own relationship. I was also for a short time a relationship coach where I did some matchmaking. In the process of dissecting and analyzing different relationships, I was looking at the dynamic between marriage and just relationships in general, relationships that don't include the legalities of marriage, and the mindsets that come with both of those entities. I don't know how many times I've heard girlfriends say that as soon as I got married, things changed. Or males saying the same thing. My male friends have said the same thing. As soon as we got married, she changed. I don't know how true those realizations are. I don't know if that person was that person before they put the ring on it. But if this is true, I believe that what they're talking about is the things that we need to heal from started to reveal themselves once people started to feel more comfortable inside of a relationship. Isn't it true that once you're in a relationship for an extended amount of time, your stuff starts to show up and it becomes revealed to your partner? So maybe marriage is a marker for that. I'm not sure. I want to do a little disclaimer before I get into this part of the conversation. I'm in a non-traditional relationship. I am not against marriage. My parents were married for 51 years, and I think it was one of the most amazing milestones that I've ever been able to participate in. However, I've chosen against marriage for multiple reasons that, of course, I'll be discussing with you on this video blog. But I think there is a dynamic and a mindset that distinguishes marriage and non-traditional relationships. Some of the things that I've learned through my own relationship, being non-traditional, is that there is a stronger sense of choice inside of a non-traditional relationship. Because the reality is, you're not bound by anything. The only thing that keeps you together is choice. Now, that's the same thing for marriages too. And in addition, with marriage, there are some legalities that need to be taken care of. There's an entire process that divorce incurs that not being married doesn't. But in my mindset, not being married and being together strictly by choice has become such a freeing revelation for me. And I'll explain why when I talk to you more about my relationship with Mark, my partner. The other thing that I want to share that I've learned from being in a non-traditional relationship is the concept that you own no one. I think you have to say that it was true. That even when you get into a relationship and start calling someone your boyfriend or your girlfriend, putting those labels on people, that the whole dynamic about possession comes into play. Even more so when you become married. When someone becomes your wife or someone becomes your husband, that speaks to the possession of that person to you. And the reality that I've learned inside of a non-traditional relationship, which can totally be applied to a marriage, is you own no one. And that every single human being was put on this earth for a specific purpose. It may or may not be related to being in a marriage, related to your partner. What you were put on this earth to do might have nothing to do with your partner. It might have everything to do with the support of your partner helping you get to the purpose that you were put on this earth to do. So this concept of my understanding that I don't own anyone really freed up myself and my partner to do whatever it is we feel we were called to do as human beings on this earth. That might look like not living together. That might look like moving to another place. That might look like a whole bunch of things that a traditionally married couple would never think of doing. Because when you get married, you become a unit. Isn't that true? And because of that unit, the decisions made by one has to be agreed upon by the other. Now, I'm not going to say that Mark and I don't make decisions together or that we make decisions independent of one another. But we do have an understanding that we get that we are both here for a specific purpose, and we are in full support of one another as we try to fulfill that purpose. For example, maybe 10 or 12 years into my relationship with Mark, we were living together in our apartment, and I started to notice signs of him being unhappy. And so we had a conversation about that. And he expressed to me that he needed to be on his own. He needed time to live on his own. Now, you know, as a woman, I made that mean all sorts of things. Specifically, oh, you want to date other people. of course. And that was a part of it. I'm not going to even lie and say that wasn't a part of it. That was a part of his growth and development that he needed to explore more. And you know what I did to that? I didn't say, okay, we're done. I'm breaking up with you. I'm finished. I did not say that. I said, okay, when do you want to start looking for an apartment? I was able to say that sincerely as his friend and as his supporter in this life, because I knew that he needed to do this. I knew that for his own personal growth and development, he needed to go and be on his own, which might look like exploring other women, whatever the case might be, to just feel like he had some freedom. And I understood that. What would be the alternative after all? So let me tell you a little bit about my partner Mark and I, and how we got to this place of being in a non-traditional relationship. I tell you, it wasn't easy, because I am a Catholic girl who grew up in a very strict household, like I said, with parents who were married for over 50 years. So marriage is definitely a part of my mindset within the institution of how I live my life, or how it was intending to live my life. Let's say that. So me and Mark met, and we instantly became great friends. That was one of the things we noticed in our relationship immediately, is that we were good friends to each other. We were supportive of one another. We had many things in common with one another. And as time has gone on, those things have just grown. We proceeded into our relationship as every other couple does, seeing each other, dating, giving ourselves even those labels of being in a committed relationship as girlfriend and boyfriend. So about 6 or 7 years into the relationship, I started asking those questions that all girls ask. What's up? What's going on? When are we going to be taking the next steps here? Well, in the process of asking those questions, I would never get back the answers that I was looking for. He was always very vague, and that was very frustrating. And as a result, I broke up with him several times. And as a result of those breakups, there was growing and learning that came along with that. But probably the most evident thing that came out of those breakups was that we both wanted to be a part of each other's lives, no matter what. No matter how many times we broke up, or for whatever reasons that we broke up, it always came down, like within a day or two of being broken up, that we would choose to continue to see each other in some form or fashion. Now, the relationship as a romance or as a boyfriend-girlfriend type dynamic would end at times in the breakups, but then we would continue seeing each other as friends and doing things together, because like I said, we had a lot of things in common. And then eventually other people would fall off and we would find our way back to each other. Well, in the process of all of that happening, I started to have these revelations about what it would look like to be with this person without having the traditional marriage component as a part of our relationship. It was a really hard process for me, primarily because I feel that every woman does, every little girl dreams of that time that special someone chooses them. They say, you're the one. They drop to their knee, they look you in your eye and ask you to be theirs for the rest of your lives. Every girl dreams of that moment. Haven't we all been watching those movies where those moments are happening and we're just crying and feel so happy, not for the actress, but for the hope of what that moment might look like for us, correct? So I was no different. But one conversation that Mark and I were having about the progression of our relationship came down to the truth from Mark's end. The truth was that he didn't want to get married. It just wasn't something that was a part of his life desire. And he put it to me as someone who loved me enough to let me go, that I understand that this is something that you want. I can't provide that for you. So you can go and find someone who wants that. And that was it. So then the ball was in my court. And I had to decide if I was going to give up this relationship, a relationship that had everything in it that I would ever want in a marriage, or break up with him and then go and look for the marriage. When in fact, what I wanted was a marriage with a relationship that looked just like the one that I was already in. So what do I do? So I went through a long thought process about that. And I realized that I want to have the relationship that I have right now with someone that is in it for the long haul. That's what I want. Does it have to look like marriage? Eventually I came to the answer, no, it doesn't. And so we proceeded as we were. We've had several engagements because he really did try to do the right thing. But I knew that he didn't really want that. And I'm so glad that I listened to my intuition in those moments, because if I hadn't, we wouldn't be together today. And by the way, it's 21 years come April. So the point that I'm making is that marriage was something that didn't work for us. But what I've learned is that there's a whole nother mindset that comes out of a different choice, a choice that has nothing to do with what society or your family or your friends expect. I want to share those ideas with you so that even those of you who are in marriages could possibly look at different ways of being with your partner, and even though you have these labels. And then for those of you who are in the process that I was going through, those steps toward looking at marriage or not, maybe you can get some clarity on where you want to go with your relationship as well. What's possible, what's doable. I gave up a lot, but I also got more than I ever expected I would. So I invite you to join me on this journey. You can do it in many ways. One, become a subscriber on my channel, or post comments with questions or pose situations that you would like addressed from myself and from other viewers. Or you can email me at Phoebe, P-H-O-E-B-E, Smith, S-M-I-T-H, the number 70 at gmail.com. And I will be glad to read your letters and comment on them on this video blog. Thank you so much for listening. Tune in to our next episode coming soon. And until then, remember, your life is what you make it, in spite of your circumstances.